Hello friend, how are you? Welcome to Tripan Study Center. Today we are and highlighting each and every point of it. Let's see what is our topic today. Primary group and secondary group. So first of all, I discuss here socialists are discussion between the two types of group based on their characteristics. The primary group is usually a small social group. Primary group is usually a small social group where the members share the close personal, enduring and relationship here. And this group are the marked by the concern from the each other and share activities and the culture and the long period of time spent together. That's important here. You know that there is a socialist is a difference between the two types here, primary and secondary group. But the primary group is usually very small. There is a small because they are a member of share the close personal enduring relationship. That's important here. The goal of primary group is actually to create a relationship themselves rather than to achieve any other objective. Family and close friend are example of primary group. You know that's important. The family and close friend are example of primary group here. Let's see who is discovered the primary group and secondary group. The concept of primary group was coined by the Charles Coles here. You know that's important. Charles Coles says that the most important a sharing of concept of primary group. A sociologist of there is a Chicago School of Sociology in his book Social Organization. You know that Charles is a cool is the most important socialist logist here, and in the book here a social organization. Social organization here a study of the large mind 1909 here. The primary group play an important role in the development of personal identity. The primary group play an important role in the development of personal identity. Cooley is agreed that is the influence of primary group is so greater that individuals stick to the primary deals in a more complex associations and even from a new primary group within the formal organization. You know that's important. Charles Cooley is the most important his book here social organization and the study of large mind is 1909. There is the most important role here development of personal identity here. So let's see the first difference here difference in meaning primary and secondary group here. You know that primary group is the nucleus of all social organization. It is characterized by the intimate face-to-face association and cooperation. This is a primary group here. They are a primary as several sense, but they are a fundamental in forming the social nature and the ideals of the individual. And family playground and motherhood are there is example of primary group. That's important here. First difference is meaning here. And secondary group, the secondary groups are the large scale group. Secondary group here, large scale group in which the relationship are relative casual. You know that a secondary group are the large scale group, but primary is a small group here. Secondary group is a large, but primary group is very small. The secondary groups are the large scale group in which their relationship are relative casual and impressional and the competitive, and they are constantly forming to the fulfill some common goal or objective. Like example here, city political party. There is here common goal and there is a common objectives here. City and political party. The most important example of here a secondary group. The second point is the most important different in the size. You know that's important difference in a size. A primary group is very small in a size and confined to be a small area because it is a consist of very small number of individual. That's the most important here. The primary group is very small and size and confined to be a small area because it is a consist of very small number of individual. But secondary group here, the size of secondary group is very large and it is the spread all over the world. Secondary group, there is a spread of all over the world because it is a consist of the thousand of members who is a spread and the scattered all over the world. There is a most important. Secondary group is very large, spread all over the world. That's important difference in a size here. Let's see next point. Difference in stability. You know that's important difference in stability. Primary groups are relatively stable or durable. You know that primary groups are relatively stable and the durable. For the example, family is a stable organization. You know that's important. There is a primary group is the most important example of the stability here. But other side secondary group, the secondary group may be a temporarily and permanent. You know that's the two types here, temporarily or permanent. These are temporary group like a flood relief association. There is a temporary here. As a secondary groups, especially interest group, after the fulfillment of interest is automatically vanish. You know that's important. There is a secondary groups may be a temporary or permanent, but this are
This
temporary group
topic
like a
was till this.
flood
We will
relief
do the
association.
next topic in the
That's
next
important.
part. If you
And let's see
like
next.
it, then please like, share,
Difference
subscribe,
is
and share the
cooperation.
video
You know
as
that's important.
much
Difference
as possible. Do not
cooperation.
think, subscribe and
The
save
nature
your
of
mobile.
cooperation is a
Thank
primary
you.
and secondary group also different from each other. The nature of cooperations in the primary and secondary groups also different from each other. The member of primary group directly cooperate with each other because it's a family member here. Directly cooperate with each other and they play sit and discuss together. They play sit and discuss together because of face-to-face contact and personal relationship and direct cooperations among the member is the possible. But secondary group is a difference here. Let's see a secondary group. But the member of secondary group indirectly. You know that primary groups is the direct, but there is a secondary groups are indirectly cooperate with each other because there exist to indirectly relation among two member. There is the indirectly cooperate with each other because there exist indirect relations among the member. That's important. The next is difference in a structure. According to types of structure, both primary and secondary group can be distinguished from to each other. Primary group is based on a informal structure and very simple. You know that primary group is also known as the informal structures here and is a very simple. All the members participate in the same process and it is regulated by the informal rules and regulation. That's important here. There is a primary group is an informal structure and very simple and all the members participate in the same process and regulate by the informal rules and regulation. But secondary groups are, on the other hand, secondary group is based on formal structure. You know that's important. The secondary group is based on formal structure. On the other hand, secondary group is based on the formal structure and regulated by the set of formal rules and regulation. That's important here. There is a secondary group is based on formal structure and the secondary groups is based on the formal structure and regulated by a set of formal rule and regulation. That's important here. And the next point here, difference in a relationship. Difference in a relationship. A greater deal of difference is found in the relationship among the members of a primary and secondary group. There exist direct, intimate, and the personal relationship. Among the member of a primary group, the relation are all the inclusive because primary group is a relationship or directory. You know that's important. Difference in a relationship. There exists a direct intimate and the personal relationship among the member of primary group. The relation are all the inclusive because the primary group is a relation directed. On the other hand, the secondary group is the most important, but there exists indirectly an impersonal relation among the member of secondary group. Their relation are secondary and formal. You know that secondary and formal. The relation here secondary and formal here. That's important. The next point here, difference in the method of social control. You know that's important. Different in there is a method of social control here. Both primary and secondary group can be distinguished from each other on the basis of the means by which they are exercises control over the member. Primary group exercise control over the member through the informal means such as the custom, flockway, more etc. You know that's important. That's important because primary group exercise a control over to the member through the informal means such as the custom, flockway, and more etc. Secondary group have a limited control over its member because there is a very important but secondary groups control over the behavior of its member through the formal means such as a police, jail, court, law, etc. You know that the primary group is a control by here. Most important, there is the informal structure here. The next point is the most important difference in a goal. You know that's important. Members of primary group have a similar or common aims and objectives. That's important. The members of primary group have a similar and common aims and objectives. Goal of particular member is the considered as the goal of all the member. That's important. The goal of particular member is the considered as the goal of all other member. But in a secondary group, member have a different goal. Each individual has his own goal or aim for there is a fulfillment of which is the join in the group. You know that's important. There is each individual has his own goal or aim. There is a secondary group, but primary group is a goal of particular member is the consider as the goal of all the member. That's important. The next year difference in effect on a personality. That's important. Difference in effect on a personality here. Both primary and secondary group can be designated for each other on their degrees by which their effect are that determine their personality of individual. Primary group has a greater influence on the development of personality. Influence it is the total personality of individual. You know that's important. Difference in effect on personality. That's important. But secondary group has a little influence on the development of personality of individual. It is a mainly considered with a particular aspect of the personality of the individual. No, that's important. The secondary group is a little influence on the development of personality of individual. It is a mainly considered with the particular aspect of the personality of individual. That's important here. The difference in a physical closeness. That's important. Difference in a physical closeness here. Both primary and secondary group may be designated from each other on the grounds of physical nearness. Member of primary group live in a physical proximity to be each other. There exist face-to-face relation among the member. That's the most important primary group here. There is a physical nearness here. And the member of primary group live in the physical proximity to be each other and there exist of face-to-face relation among the member. But member of secondary group, the member of secondary groups that's important. You know that. But a member of secondary group, they're a member of secondary group here. The next year, the relationship among the member. You know that that's important. A primary group is a spontaneous in the nature, whereas there is a relationship among the member of secondary group is governed by the external force. You know that relation among to the members is an important point here. The next here, primary relationship is called, there is an inclusive. The primary relation in all inclusive. That's important here. The primary relation is all inclusives. Here each member now the each other personality and there is a concern with there is a total accept of human beings. But secondary relation is not all inclusive. That's important. But secondary relation is not all inclusive. Here the member do not know each other personally and they are the not be concerned with their total accept of life of member. That's important here. Primary relation is all inclusive because there is each member is now each other as personally and there is a connect with concerned with there is total accept of human being. There is a primary relations here in the primary groups here. But secondary here, the secondary relation is not all inclusive. There is a member do not know the each other personally and they are not concerned with their totally accept life member. That's important here.
This topic was till this. We will be do their next topic in the next part. If you like it, then please like, share, subscribe, and share the video as a much as a possible. Do not think subscribe and save in your mobile. Thank you.